Well, hello all. I've just been through a 24-hour day filming it, and I'd like to show you which things are worth doing in any 24-hour day so that even you might be able to analyze your day and say, yeah, that was worth it, this wasn't worth it, and maybe make some changes. So, first thing that I enjoy in a day is spending about an hour thanking God for His grace and His kindness and His mercy. Then in this past 24-hour day, enjoy interacting with my son who helped me. I managed to put a spade through a water pipe and I had to fix that. That cost me 3 hours of my life, but my son was there to help me. So interactions with family, great. And then I love being with my cat and just patting him. So I would say those were the three highlights of my day. Now, what are the rest of the things that we do in a day that we could say make the day worth it? Well, when you look through my past day, you'll see that there were certain things that I did that made a permanent difference. And I don't know if it's just a guy thing, that doing something with your hands and making a difference and working so that at the end of the day you can see a permanent change. I think those kind of things are great. So what did I do? Well, I installed a fence gate post in my carport, which involved 3 hours of fixing a water pipe. Those are emergency things. Those I call the devourer things, which I want to talk about at the end. And God was very merciful to me that He rebuked that devourer, and although it devoured some of my time, it didn't devour much of my finances. And then I fixed my sky observatory platform. I cut a branch off a tree and made some firewood off my fig tree, which I see is slowly dying from some wood borer beetle. What else did I do? I practiced a little bit of organ or piano. I'm trying to master ballad for Adeline. It's a long-term project. So these are things that make a permanent change. And then obviously after that, there are things that are vaguely pleasant. There's all the there's obviously cooking, and I had to do some shopping. I had to go and buy the cement, and I had to go again and buy something that joins the plastic water pipe, a piece of brass fitting. So the shopping, those are kind of mildly, they're not pleasant or unpleasant. And I guess you would include with that washing up and doing a bit of housework and all the maintenance issues. And then you come to the things that really can grate on your nerves, and that is when on camera, I was digging and I hit a water pipe, and I had to then stop doing everything else that I was doing, and I had to go and buy this brass fitting, and I had to go and fix this water pipe, cut through the pipe, put on the two end brass things, put on the olives, put the central part, tighten it, test it. And in the process, I thought it was a municipal pipe, so I phoned the municipality, which was about an hour on the phone, because it's hard getting through, and you talk and they ask you to press this number, and it doesn't respond when you press that number. You got to do it at least 10 times. But anyway, I must say the municipality was as helpful as they could be, so no complaints there. And then the whole process of fixing the water pipe could have cost me, well, it cost me 100 Rand, or about $5. It could have cost really 20 times that much. If I'd called in a plumber to do the same job, it would have cost 2,000 Rand. So yeah, it would have cost 20 times more. So again, why do I spend an hour thanking God for His grace and kindness and all that He does for me? Because He rebukes the devourer. So I'd like to talk about this devourer, things that affect your health. Like I have a bit of sciatica at the moment. It doesn't really stop me doing anything. It just makes it unpleasant, but I'm thanking God that it's going to go soon. And I know that in the past in my life, I have spent probably a decade on crutches, hobbling around, bad back, bad knee, frozen elbow. I nearly broke my ankle when I hit a rock paragliding, being stupid, And when I was a child playing football, I twisted my knee, which might have set things up. So I've spent probably a decade, just like now, every day I barely can get out of bed, sometimes from the sciatica, pop a painkiller or two. And I know that God's grace and mercy is this thing too shall pass. It came to pass, meaning it comes only to pass. So that is the beauty of God. Is so good and so gracious. Really, he is so good and so gracious that you can call on him, you can cry out for help. Things can go so badly wrong. So health is one way we can get devoured. Our time can be consumed with stupidity like addictions, and any kind of addiction can consume you. I suppose a gambling addiction or whatever addiction you might have, or drug or alcohol. But anyway, all of those things can consume one's time, and then accidents can consume your money. Just one small slip and you could be spending the rest of your life paying for it. So really, I'm so grateful that in all my 70 years, God has rebuked the devourer. Eventually, all the ailments come right. I had such a terrible back at one stage, but eventually, for some reason, it came right. I must have had a compressed vertebra. I could do nothing, and I was in agony for years. I think it came from playing volleyball, and I fell over onto my back during a church picnic. I still remember I fell over Mr. Stegman. He was a small little old gentleman, and as I was going back for the ball, I fell over him and fell onto my back, and from then on I had back problems for years. But that came right, and eventually I was carrying bags, 50-kilogram bags of cement, and mixing it, and yeah, I was God's grace was very great to me. I don't think God ever gives you a life where you're free of problems. He just helps you through the problems, so that, as Paul said, God said to Paul, my grace is sufficient for you. And then I think there are many other things that I learned from yesterday. I watched a program on Monsanto, and I was determined that I want to look into GM foods. So that was about an hour or two, hour and a half hour program. We have a channel that's got all these strange documentaries, and I really do want to look into it. I do not think GM foods are good for you, and in general to try and get a more organic diet, because so many people suffer from so many strange diseases in this modern time. And like, I really do want to make better use of my time. And another thing I looked at today was, I was watching the news and I thought, this news is junk. It's irrelevant, meaningless. And I thought, yeah, I must go onto Euronews or one of the other channels and just get a snapshot. Just spend 5 minutes reviewing what's in the news, because I could spend 2 hours in the morning just catching up on the news. And really what you get on satellite TV or cable TV, I suppose, in other places, is just pure junk. So I think I'm going to just have a quick glance over a few reputable news sites, get all what's happening in the world so that I can talk to other people and be caught up to date. So that was so those changes of changing the news, changing how I use my time, and appreciating that the things that I made changes, permanent changes for the day, those things were important. But ultimately it's relationship with God, relationships with other people, just enjoying your pet. Those things probably were the highlights of the day. So here was my 24-hour day. I hope you enjoy it. Well, hello all. I woke up today with a question. Of all the things I plan to do today, which of these things are worth doing? In other words, if you went through your daily routine, is there some formula that one can apply to say this was worth doing and this is just a waste of time, this is just utterly not worth doing? In a day's activities, which are worth doing? So I've washed some dishes. You've got to wash dishes, otherwise they pile up. Tick that off, worth doing. I cooked some food for the cat. the cat's going to bug and harass me until I feed him. So I cooked him some chicken livers. Worth doing, got to do. I did a bit of tidying up, and in the process I found a few things that had been missing. My hammer, my level had been missing for a while. So a bit of tidying up, definitely try to fight the forces of entropy, worth doing. Now, something I thought that was definitely worth doing was I'm making a carport, and in the carport there's a water meter, and I needed to cover my water meter. So let me, and I've been trying to come up with a solution. How can I protect this water meter? If cars ride onto this meter, will they crack it and break it? And I came up with a solution. I just want to show you. I think that was really that was probably one of the most worthwhile things I'm going to do today. I just want to show you it quickly. So here is my carport driveway, and here is a water meter which I need to protect. The water meter's got water in it, and they have to bail it out every time they read it. The municipality needs it to protect it. So I thought, how can I stop a car breaking this water meter? And I came up with the idea. I've got this pan, and I can cover the water meter like this, and if a car rides over it, it's not going to crack the water meter. So what I'm going to do is dig that all out, and I think this will fit. Put bricks all the way around it, and so the bricks will support this pan, and then this pan has got a handle. I can put a chain through the handle to make sure nobody steals this pan. So I think that was worth it if it works. So that was worth doing today as well. Then here are my goldfish, and every day they require a little pinch of food, a handful of food in, and there's a goldfish. Next, it's quite cold, and I have this log in the yard. It's a pine log I've been chipping away at, trying to break it up, and I take my axe to it and I get little bits of wood from it. So I'm slowly getting rid of this from the garden. I think that's a worthwhile activity. It's a long-term project. It won't budge. But while I was doing that, I noticed that here is a branch of this fig tree that has died. So I'm thinking it's going to be worthwhile cutting off this branch and using it instead for firewood. I was going to take a walk into the bush and collect firewood, so that if it gets cold and rainy tonight, we have firewood. So instead, I've killed two birds with one stone. I've got rid of this branch from the fig tree, and I've got firewood. I don't know what fig firewood is like, but there is our branch. I'll have to pull it out. I think that was worth doing, and I noticed that this other branch here looks completely, it's one of the main branches of this tree, and it looks like it's really been eaten by some beetle, and it looks pretty dead as well, or on the way out. So I may take this branch next. It's going to take a major part of the tree down, probably the biggest branch of the tree. So was getting that firewood worth it? I think so. Next, I have a safety gate that just, you've got to pull it down and push in. That gets very annoying. So I'm thinking, instead of having to pull it down all the time, if I took those two screws out, and then this gate will move back, so I won't have to pull it down. I think that would be worth doing today as well. Well, it took literally 2 minutes, and now this lock works. I don't have to pull down on it to open and close the safety gate. So that's going to save me a lot of frustration. That was definitely well worth doing. So I'm wanting to learn to play Richard Clayderman's Ballad for Adeline. It's fairly complicated, so I've simplified it, and I'm just every day throw a few minutes at just getting my fingers used to some of the just to get my fingers used to some of the riffs or whatever they call them. So even with that little bit of practice, you could see the second time I got a little better. I think it's worth any activity that you're going to want to do on a long-term basis that might improve you. If it takes a few minutes, why not do it every day? I'm retired, but if one has to go to work every day to earn a living, to put bread on the table, I guess that must be well worth doing, because otherwise what are you going to do? Are you going to beg? I don't earn any money from YouTube, never have earned a cent. So I would say that's definitely well worth doing. And in this day and age, it's great if you have a job. I know there are different ways of doing a job. In teaching, I saw two ways that I could have done my job. I could have got a perfect set of notes in my first or second year of teaching, put them on the computer or the overhead projector, and I could have given the same stuff to different classes every year. I would have done 1 year's worth of preparation, done and dusted, and then for the rest of my life just tweak it here and there, my 46-year teaching career. But what I did was I used to prepare every year different notes and different techniques, try different methods of teaching in the hope that you'd hit on, and I did hit on some practices that I definitely agreed with, that were better than I'd done in the past. So I would have got very bored of teaching for 46 years. So for me, I would say I had to prepare new work every year just to keep it fresh. But that meant an awful lot of work, unnecessary work, hours of preparation each day, which you could have avoided if you just made a perfect set of teaching notes. And you just teach that for the 46 years, and there's no preparation. You go home, there's nothing to prepare, to do, just a bit of marking. So it's got to be what suits you. I spent an inordinate amount of time programming computers to do, to teach, etc. I think I was right at the beginning in the 90s, programming, writing educational computer programs, and really, they don't really work. A teacher, even with a blackboard, is more effective than a computer. So that was just my feeling. So definitely work is worth doing. Got to do something to provide bread, your daily bread. I know one thing that will come from today. I can watch at least 2 hours of news. So much of the news, if you'd never ever seen it or watched it, it would make zero difference in your life. Now, I can say that there's a useful news, and that is so that you'll be able to communicate with fellow citizens and have something in common. That is a use, but I think I must definitely go online, which is like so many of the youngsters do, and look for news that I'm interested in. Now I'm busy building a night sky observing platform, and it needs reinforcing. So now this can go underneath here. Let's first get it into position and then put it nicely under there. Great. I feel a lot safer having this extra beam here. Now we can walk on our sky observatory platform with more peace of mind. Because I'm making a carport, I have to install this pole here. So I have to dig a hole, fill it with concrete, and put the pole straight. So let's see what the ground is like. In trying to sink a pole for my carport, I hit this water pipe of my neighbor's, which unbeknown to me runs right down the border of our fences. This is his garage, and so it took me all of 3 hours to go shopping, buy this copper or brass coupler and rejoin the two water pipes, or rejoin the water pipe. I just put a nick in it, and then the water had been spurting out, as you saw. So that consumed 3 hours of my day. Well, I eventually got my carport gatepost in. I'm about to pour some concrete, which I've mixed. Go mix some more. The pole is now nicely in place. Let's just get it totally level.